So in this box I have some new friends to add to my marine systems. Everything is running reasonably well at the moment, but we do have a slight hair algae problem. This is the system I'm mostly focused on. Now if you remember, if you've seen my previous videos, I only put these tanks in at the start of February and I only put the sand in at the start of March. So these are very new tanks, but we can see that there is algae. This isn't something unexpected. All tanks go through this, especially new setups. But we need to get on top of it now before this system turns into a hair algae farm rather than a macroalgae farm. So this box has just arrived. I ordered it 2 days ago and it's been delivered this morning at 9:30, overnight shipping, so it's really good. I'm using a new company I've never used before called Cellar for no particular reason other than the fact that they were the cheapest I could find. I'm not affiliated with them or anything, and I'm not sponsored by them, but here is their delivery. I've ordered a lot of snails. Obviously, I haven't opened it, so this will be the first time I open it up, and we'll see how well Cellar have done with their shipping. So let's have a look at what's inside. We've got a heat pack, which is actually cool now, so I guess it's been used up. We've got little hints and tips when receiving, thanks for your custom, and how to acclimate. That's fine. Foil blanket, I use these in my own shipments. And then inside we have our livestock. I did order some livestock from another seller from eBay recently and half of it died and I wasn't particularly pleased. Oh, it was dead actually, well, pretty much dead on arrival. So what we've got in here are cerith snails. I can see them moving around. It does feel a little bit cool, but that's okay. We've got astrea. These are the spiny astrea. I find that they're quite cool. Look, this one's come with some macroalgae, which is awesome. Love a bit of free macroalgae. We've got some margarita snails. These are really hard to find. And these are a bit of a new one on me. Never kept them before, but I do know that they need cold water or cooler water. And we have some giant turbos. These are the ones I ordered from eBay last time. I ordered 10 of them. All were dead within 12 hours of receipt. These guys though, we can see they're crawling around in the bag, so that is excellent. So in terms of acclimation, we are going to acclimate them because they really need it after a trip like that. We're just going to use the standard drip airline acclimation method from this tank. This is all one big system, so it doesn't matter which tank I take water out of. And we're going to put the cerith and the astrea on this system, and then we're going to put the margarita and the giant turbos onto this system. So here's the spiny astrea and the cerith. It's already better than my last shipment because I can see that they're clearly alive. This guy's already come out. We're just dripping them at a couple of drips a second, and you might notice that I'm not using too much of the water that came in the bag because I'm trying to get them into the new water, and that water was also quite cold, so these guys are going to take a while to acclimate over. I would say it was definitely sub 15 degrees in that box, probably because the heat pack was either a 12-hour or it just didn't go off properly, ran out of oxygen in the bag. But everything seems to be okay, things are moving around. It's far better already than my last shipment, because my last shipment, my snails like these, they weren't out and crawling around like this. They literally were hanging out the shells half dead when I received them. So I like to use a wide variety of clean-up cream and macroalgae systems. There's nothing particularly different to what you would use in a normal aquarium, to be quite honest. These are one of my favourites. This is a orange-lipped conch. It's a bit smaller than the strawberry conch, which are quite big shells. You can see here, this is a strawberry conch shell. These are already dead. I just put them in these tanks here for my hermit crabs. But you can see my finger now there next to the strawberry conch. And then the orange-lipped conch, you can see they're a lot smaller. But I like them because they can get into smaller gaps than the strawberry conch, and also more suitable for smaller aquariums. I've also got your normal array of turbo snails, and we've got quite a few blue-legged hermits. Saltwater nerite snails. Now I don't really know how much these guys do, because whenever I see them they just tend to be along the water line, which is another thing about these guys. If you don't have a tight fitting lid, they just end up on the floor. But they must be doing something, because I've had them for 2 years and they've not died, so they're finding some sort of food in there. So you can see how well the turbo snails are doing because there's no algae on the rocks or on the glass or back panels, and that's because the turbos are doing really well. What I need to do is get rid of the algae on the sand bed that's growing over my macroalgae, and that's where the conch is, but also that's where these cerith snails come in because they will go along the sand bed and hopefully hoover all of that up. The reason I've got these starry astrea is because I've got a few tanks like this one which don't have any turbos in, and I've actually personally found that these starry astrea or spiny astrea tends to be, in my opinion, hardier than your standard trochus or astreas. In general though, they all sort of do a similar sort of job. You can see in here how well they're doing. So that's got 2 turbos in this tank. I've got no hair algae growing on the outside. In here, I don't have any turbos, and you can see the difference. Lots of hair algae growing. So basically, these are all going to be spread about my systems so that this excess hair algae gets munched. Another snail that I really like to keep are these. These are dove snails. They kind of self-populate within my systems, and they get into all the little nooks and crannies. Not so good on the really long hair algae, but they'll take off all the little buds that are growing. Let's discuss what's in this bucket then, because there's a snail in here that I'm very familiar with, and that is the super turbo, or lots of people like to call them Mexican turbos. These are so nice and firm attached to this bucket. That's excellent. So you can see how it's closed up. Well, my last shipment of these, they wouldn't even close up, so that was obviously a bad sign. But these guys are amazing. You can see how big they are, and this is actually one of the smallest ones. I think they get to like the size of an apple sometimes. These are insane when it comes to eating hair algae. The problem with them though is because they're so good at eating hair algae, they can end up starving to death in your aquarium. And another reason why I haven't used them in the past is because they will eat all types of algae. And in here I'm trying to grow macroalgae, but it's just been a bit of a disaster. This entire side of my shed has been a bit cursed, and I think even though it's probably about 7 months old now, we're still going through that sort of ugly cycling stage because of one thing after another going wrong. But we're going to be adding these snails in here, and hopefully they're going to get to grips with all this hair algae so I can actually start using this tank as a nice display, because at the minute I'm very unhappy with how it's looking. So the other snail in here, which is one I'm really not familiar with, in fact this is the first time I've seen them, but on Googling, apparently they're really good at eating all sorts of algae. These margarita snails. Essentially, I think these are one of the fastest snails you can get. And the reason they're fast is because they don't have that closing around their body to keep predators out. Their way of escaping predators is to run as fast as they possibly can. These are quite interesting. One thing about them though is apparently they're more of a subtropical species. I'm going to probably have to reduce the temperature in my tank a little bit to probably around 22 just to keep them a little bit happier. So I will say at this point that I'm pretty happy with Cellar Marine. I'm going to use them again. Obviously when you receive and buy livestock, if they arrive alive and happy, then that's a good sign. If they tend to die after you've received them, it's generally your fault, or it's something that you've done, because I'm pretty confident with what I've received there is healthy and happy, so if they die now, it's generally my fault. And packing wise, pretty good. We've got triple bagging, which is decent. Obviously we've got the foil. I use these foils on my macroalgae, like you can see, that's ready to go. So I'll probably just recycle this today, don't waste packaging. I think in terms of the packaging itself, it's been really good. One thing though, that heat pack wasn't very warm. It's warmed up again now. So what's happened here is the heat pack's run out of oxygen, and they have poked little holes in it to let the oxygen into the heat pack, but it's not worked, and that's why it's gone cold. I don't think the livestock have been too badly affected. They seem to be responsive. It's kind of what you want. Not so sure about the astrea, but they're out and about, so I think they should be okay. I'm going to acclimate them slower than I would normally, because we don't want to temperature shock them, especially if the heat pack hasn't worked. And it's definitely warmed up again, so Yeah, lack of oxygen. That's something a lot of people don't know about heat packs, is they react to oxygen. That's how they generate heat. I think it's iron oxide in there or something. And if there's no oxygen, they don't work. Look at this guy trying to find a new shell. Interestingly, the shell he is wearing is one of the Mexican turbo snail shells that died on my last shipment. You can see them all here, these little round ones. That one, that one, that one, that one. Yeah, that was 20 quid down the drain. Or, well, 20 quid for some new hermit crab shells. And on pricing, I've been pretty happy with these, because most of these snails, believe it or not, were £1 each. I don't even know, well, I'm going to say I don't know how they do it, but I'm imagining they're doing it on really slim margins. But yeah, ceriths were like £1, astrea were £1, these giant Mexican turbos, £1. The only ones that were more than £1 were the margarita snails. I think they were £1.99. So really, really impressed. And shipping was £15. So I hate to say it, but it's cheaper now to shop online than it is to go into your local shop, which kills me to say, because I really support shops. But how can a shop actually compete, or you know, a local fish shop, how can it compete with £1 a snail? Last time I bought a snail in a fish shop, I think it was a turbo and some ceriths, and they were like £3 each, £4 each, and I got like 5 snails for 30 quid. Outrageous. I wasn't massively happy about that. And now I've got, what's that, 25 snails with shipping for £50. You're going to see a lot of these local fish shops shutting down, I think, unless they get online, unless they compete with these £1 snail sellers. There's going to be a bit of an exodus, I think. If it's not already happened, it's going to happen quite soon. So it's been around an hour of acclimating slowly. I think that will be enough, quite honestly. It's more the temperature that I was worried about, and it's kind of tank temperature now. It feels roughly the same. Obviously there's no heater in here, so we'll be losing heat. We are 25 degrees though, so even the room temperature is tropical in here. And we'll start off with adding a little margarita snail into my snail. Oh, the shell's a bit damaged. Hopefully that'll be okay. We're going to add him into here, because one thing I did read about these margarita snails, when they did a study on their gut contents, the majority of it was red filamentous algae and diatoms. So these guys eat red algae and diatoms as most of their diet, which does surprise me, because a lot of the people on the internet, when they say about these snails, they say they're great at eating green hair algae, but wild ones prefer red algae. And we'll just pop them down here, and this tank's full of red algae and diatoms. So this guy, oh, he's gone. This guy should be happy in here. I don't really do a lot with this tank. It just kind of sits here with my clownfish in it and refugee fish. So he seems fine. He's got his little face out and his little tentacles waving around, so happy days with him. In here it's just got red hair algae, and we've now got diatoms. So this is pretty much his dream hotel, because that is his main diet in a nutshell in this tank. I don't do a lot with this tank. You might notice it's just kind of in the corner of this shed, but it's more of an experiment to see what is going to happen if you just put some red hair algae and a couple of clownfish in a tank and don't do anything to it. That's the result. It's actually a lot cleaner than you'd expect, really. Let's put these snails into this tank, and also these tanks, because I am spreading them about. You can see just how big these snails are. They are monsters. One of the reasons why a lot of people don't put them in their reef tanks, because they can be too big. If you imagine you've got little frags on your rock work and so on, they're going to knock them off, aren't they? Unless they're glued on, you're going to have issues. But one thing they are good for is hair algae. I know this for a fact. They love eating hair algae. They're like demolisher tanks of the hair algae world. And then this last one, he is going to go into this tank. So I've got a bit of hair algae in here. You might be wondering why there's so much hair algae. Partly it's to do with the issues I've had, which have been numerous. It's also been to do with the fact that building a new fish house, running 2 businesses, and also being practically daytime care for a new baby takes up a lot of time, and I've been prioritising the baby obviously, so I haven't had as much time as I would like to spend on my systems, but here we are. These little guys are going to give me the upper hand in this war against hair algae. There's a little urchin in there as well. So let's put the margarita snails in here as well, and we'll just see how fast these guys actually are. I've been informed via the interweb that they are incredibly fast. I'll put them on this rock as well. Right. Oh, he fell over. Damn it. Can he get back up again? There they go. Off to their new home. Oh no, don't do that. Apparently long-nosed butterflies like to eat margarita snails. Oh, that's not good. So I did everything else off camera. Everything is really happy, I'm really pleased with it. Obviously a lot of snails, well most snails are nocturnal, or at least they like to move around more at night. So we don't really expect a lot of action when the lights are on. But things are moving, things are like poking their little heads out, so I'm pretty happy that it's all going to survive. I mean, I might get 1 or 2 losses, but so yeah, I'm pretty confident they're all going to be quite healthy. Very, very impressed with Cellar Marine. It's just going to give these guys a little bit of time to do their job now. Very impressed with Cellar Marine, so thank you guys if you're watching. So yeah, pleased as anything with these snails. I'm glad that they've all arrived healthy. I'm glad they're all in my tanks alive, and I've just got to give them a bit of time to do their jobs now. I think I'll probably need twice what I've ordered. Maybe not any more of the giant turbos, but definitely ceriths. I could probably do another 20 to be quite honest with you. I've still got this tank down here that hasn't got any cleanup crew in it really, so probably going to be buying some more. So thanks for watching. I did have a bit of a break over Easter, so thank you if you're watching the video, especially if you watch to the end, because nobody watches to the end. If you're the one person that watched to the end of the video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So I had 2 weeks off, and now I'm back. We're going to be doing some more videos going forward. I had a lovely holiday. I hope you had a nice holiday over the Easter period as well. So thank you for watching. If you aren't already a subscriber, please remember to subscribe to my video. Also, please hit the like button as well, because it helps me get seen in that YouTube algorithm. Once again, thanks for watching, and happy fish keeping!